Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of my video series of setting up a development environment on Windows Subsystem for Linux, also known as WSL. In the first part of this video series, we walked through setting up Windows Subsystem for Linux on Windows. You just do WSL -- install on PowerShell and then set up your account. If you haven't watched that yet, I recommend you go ahead and watch it. Today we're going to set up the software for a LAMP server, and that's our web server, and it stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. We're going to get all of that installed and configured so that we have our web server up and running. To do that, you're going to find the app that you installed in part 1. Mine is called Ubuntu. We're going to click on it and open a terminal here. All right, we're logged in. And the first thing we're going to want to do is update our package list and then upgrade our packages. So we'll type sudo apt update and enter our password. And it's going to update our package list. And what that does is gets the most recent information for these packages. And after it finishes running, we can then upgrade those packages. I think the most important thing to do when you install a Linux distribution is just to get everything up to date. 76% done here. And these commands that I'm typing, I will put them in the description of the video so you can follow along. I'll also put them on my website if you'd like to copy and paste. Looks like the package list is done, so we'll go ahead and upgrade our packages. 105 packages can be upgraded. So we'll do sudo apt upgrade. Yes. It says that so much disk space will be used, so I just agreed by pressing Y and then hitting enter. Again, this might take a minute to download that 105 megabytes worth of updates. Once we're upgraded, we'll go ahead and start installing our software, and we're going to start with Apache. So to install Apache, you'll do sudo apt install Apache2. Agree to the disk space by pressing Y and enter. And I really would like to note that setting up your web server software on Linux is really very easy. I actually find it easier than on Windows. So just with that command, Apache is installed and ready to go. We do want to do two things, though. We want to start it and then set it as a system service. That way it starts up when our system starts up, when our WSL starts up. And I've also found during development that you can close your terminal and your web server will still be running, like you can access it in your browser. With that said, let's go ahead and start Apache by doing sudo service Apache2 start. Apache is now running. We'll want to install it as a system service next. So we'll do sudo systemctl enable Apache2. And there we go. Now Apache 2 will start when our system starts up. And that was pretty easy to do. Next, we'll move on to MySQL. So we'll do sudo apt install mysql-server. And this is going to install the MySQL server for us. So press enter. Yes, we agree to 243 megabytes of disk space. MySQL is a pretty big program, but the install should go pretty quickly depending on your download speed. And after we get done installing it, we're going to secure our installation. And I'll show you what I mean. It's basically just a series of prompts that we go through to secure our MySQL server. And you do that by doing sudo mysql secure installation. And then it's going to run us through these series of questions. So would you like to set up validate password? Yes. And here it's asking us for the strength of our password. Since we're not exposed to the internet, I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference what you choose here. I'm going to go ahead and choose medium strength. It says enter 0 for low strength, 1 for medium, and 2 for strong. So I'll put 1. Do we want to remove anonymous users? I'll put yes. Disallow remote login? Yes. Remove test database and access to it? No, I think I'll keep that for right now. Reload privilege table? Yes. All right, all done. We've set up our MySQL installation and we've secured it. I think an important step to do here is to go ahead and reset or set our root password. That way we just get it out of the way and we have it set. So to do that the first time, you'll type sudo mysql. You don't need to specify a user or a password this first time. So we'll type sudo mysql and we're inside the MySQL program. And now we'll run a query to update our root password. That query is alter user root at localhost identified with MySQL native password by, and then your password is going to go in single quotes here. And if you remember the password security prompt we set up earlier, your password has to meet those requirements that you set. So I will set a simple one that meets those requirements that I can remember. Do that, and don't forget your semicolon at the end. Press enter. If it was successful, it will say query OK, 0 rows affected. So we've now set our root password for MySQL. And we can test that by exiting MySQL and then typing mysql -u root -p. It asks us for our password we just created. So we'll put that in. And it worked. I'm back in MySQL. So we set our root password and we're good to go with MySQL. I'll go ahead and flush privileges here. Always have a hard time spelling privileges. Query OK, 0 rows affected. So we'll press exit. Now we've got Apache and MySQL set up. So the only other thing we need is PHP. And we're actually going to install 3 libraries at the same time on this next command. But again, it's still pretty easy. We'll type sudo apt install PHP. Then the Apache library for PHP, it'll be lib apache2 mod PHP, and then PHP MySQL, and hit enter. All right, now all of that's installed. We now have Apache, MySQL, and PHP installed. Let's go ahead, restart our web server. We'll do sudo service apache2 restart. And we're all set up. By default, Ubuntu will store our web files in var www html. So if we go there now, see what's in there, we have the default Apache index, and actually we can open our browser and go to localhost. Just of note, it's http://localhost. We do want to set it up so that we enable SSL, and I'll cover that in an upcoming video. But for right now, it's just without the S in the protocol. So we'll go there, and you can see it's serving our default Apache 2 Ubuntu page. So our web server is up and running. Let's go ahead and test that PHP is working. What we'll do is we'll just create an index.php in this folder. Now, the cool thing about Windows Subsystem for Linux is that if you go to your file explorer and you go down here to Linux, you can actually browse through your file system like you're inside Windows. So we'll go here to var www.html, and you'll see our index page. We could create the index.php file here with VS Code or Notepad or whatever text editor you want to use. Since it's such a simple page, I'm just going to go ahead and create it in the command line here with vim. So we'll do sudo vim index.php. We'll hit I for insert mode and type our opening PHP tag, and then we'll just type PHP info. And that's a PHP command that's going to output a bunch of information about our PHP installation. We'll hit escape to exit insert mode, :WQ for write quit. And now if we look at the contents of our directory here, we now have our index.php file in there as well. So let's go ahead and visit that in the browser here. And you'll see it executed our PHP function. It showed us all of the information about our PHP version. We can go ahead and start setting up subfolders, making it the directory structure that you want. Everything is up and running. MySQL, PHP, Apache, we're all configured. You may want to configure PHP more depending on your individual needs. For development, I find that the dev php.ini is pretty good. I do make some changes like the max file size and max uploads and all that, just so that it can handle more development edge cases. I think next in the series of videos, what we'll want to do is cover installing PHP myadmin. I use that a lot for database work. It just makes things a lot easier than doing commands queries in the terminal. I'll also cover installing SSL and virtual host. So I look forward to seeing you in my next video. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll get to it as soon as I can. Thank you for watching.